Hey everybody, welcome back to Live. I'm your host Nick Taylor, and today I'm hanging out with my buddy Anthony Campolo. Hey Anthony, how you doing, my man?
What's up, man? Good to be back. How are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a minute since we've been chatting a bit in Discord, but it's been a minute
Mhm.
since we've had a chance to actually chat. And trying to remember last time we saw each other in person. Was it Remix Conf or no? It was or were you at Ren? No, you're at Render as well, right?
Was it Render? Yeah, that was probably the last time. I haven't
Yeah.
gone to any of the conferences this year. You were at All Things Open and a couple others, right?
Yeah, is that a local conference in February called Confu, and I gave a couple talks there. They typically the way they have it set up for local people is they ask that you do two talks. I'm not sure why that is, but I had two
Hmm,
talks. So,
cool.
but yeah, did that up, and I had like a online conference. I think it was NodeConf 2024 or Node
Oh,
something
cool.
2024, and then I don't think I was at any other in-person conferences until All Things Open, which was last week. But yeah, it was really awesome being there. I gave a talk on Dino, which I've given a talk about it before,
Oh,
but
word.
there's been some changes to the framework, partially because of Preact updates and just some
Hmm.
cool features, new features. So kind of updated the talk a bit, and yeah, it was a really great conference. I'd never been to All Things Open, so
It's one that I've always
uh,
wanted to go to. It seems pretty cool. Most people I know who
yeah.
go there really like it, and I have some family in Raleigh also.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, yeah, no, definitely check it out because it is a great conference. I didn't realize how big it was. Like when I after my talk got
Hmm.
accepted, like I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who, but I was like, yeah, going to All Things Open. And they're like, whoa, man, that's like massive. And like I think it was like five
Yeah,
thousand people. I don't know if that I
yeah,
can't remember how
wow.
big Render is. It might be at the same
I
scale
think
as
I remember hearing
Render.
it was like 3,000 or something, or it was in
Okay.
that range. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not small, but no, it was a great experience. I had a great experience as a speaker and as an attendee, and I was gonna say to you, because I'm gonna be submitting a talk to this, but they have an AI conference. It's
Uh,
brand new. They're doing
hmm.
it in I can't remember. It's either late February or early mid March. But yeah, if you just Google like yeah or Perplexity AI or however you check stuff these days,
I'm duck
just
duck going right now.
okay. Yeah,
It's
if you
all
just look
right.
for AI All Things Open, you should see. If not, I can send it to you, but I'm sure it should pop up pretty
Yeah, yeah.
easily.
No, I think I got it here. Yeah, no,
But
that would be sweet. I'll just check that out.
yeah, I'm gonna submit a talk there, and I'm gonna be because I submitted this talk in a few places. Creating your first Copilot extension,
Mm.
so it definitely fits well with the AI
That's
track.
that's
So
funny. That's the video that I pulled from your channel that we're gonna use in the demos. Is one about. I'm pretty sure that's the one. You brought someone on
okay.
to talk about it recently, I think, and you had like a 7-minute highlight video about it.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, well that's a great segue. Well, before we get into the segue, which we'll be talking about Autoshow, for folks who might not know who you are, you mind giving a quick TLDR of Anthony, the man, the myth, the whatever.
The arc and the journey from the pits of
Yeah, yeah.
despair to my new role. Yeah, so I was originally a music major slash teacher for a while, and then kind of pivoted to tech. Did like a
Okay.
boot camp thing at Lambda School, and got into open source with this framework called Redwood JS, which I don't know if people know about these days or not. It never really got that popular, but it's still around and is still doing its thing. So that
Yeah.
was a full stack React framework that used like GraphQL and Prisma and all this stuff. And so that got
Hmm.
me into the open source world. And then I did a podcast called FS Jam for a while, which Nikki T. You're on JS Jam. I can't remember if you're ever on FS Jam. I don't think
I
so.
don't think I was on FSM. Yeah, just JavaScript
Yeah.
Jam, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I got involved with this company Edgio and did kind of a JavaScript community and went to a lot of conferences and met Nikki T at one of those conferences. And
Yeah.
now I'm just kind of doing my own thing, going solo and working on an open source AI tool that will eventually be an AI product.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So the product you're talking about is Autoshow, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm just gonna switch us to pairing view real quick. Um, so this is the project. It's on GitHub. It's open source right now, and I'll drop a link to it in the chat for people. Um, so you've been working on this for a bit. We actually did a show on this about 5 months ago, like we were chatting before. I'll drop a link to that too. Um, but I guess talk a bit about like the project and its goals, kind of like so. And I think some context is you've done a lot of developer advocacy, and I feel like that's probably why this you decided to build this tool.
To a certain extent, it definitely connects to the content I was making. It first started because I wanted to create show notes for FS Jam. Because for
Okay.
people who've ever done like podcasts, there's kind of different ways to approach it. You can kind of like record that episode and then just drop it in the feed and people can listen to it and do whatever they want. Or you can put like an ad or something in the description, which some people do. Other
Yeah.
people will have like a good explanation of what it's about. There'll be chapters with specific timestamps that go to different parts of the episode. There may be resources and links. So,
Hmm.
if you want to really do your show notes right in a podcast, it can take a lot of work, like just listening to the episode to find the right chapter times and then
Yeah.
write good descriptions for them and make sure there's no spelling errors. And like that, just that alone can take like hours at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Totally.
what I started to realize is that you could use LLMs like ChatGPT or Claude to
Okay.
do
Yeah.
a lot of this for you. Basically, what you would do is if you had a transcript with timestamps, you could give it that, and it would be able to, because it can read the transcript and see how it connects to the timestamps, it's able to kind of chunk the different topics and chapters. And so that was
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
the first big aha moment I had. And what I was originally doing is I used Whisper, which is OpenAI's open source transcription tool. It was one of the last open source things they released. I would
Okay.
use that to transcribe the podcast, and then I would write a prompt in ChatGPT and copy the transcript underneath it. And then you enter that in ChatGPT, and then you get the response back. So that
Okay.
was like the first like the capabilities, and I then was thinking, okay, well this is cool, but what if I built like a pipeline so that you could have you first take in the link and then it creates like a front matter thing where it uses the metadata
Okay.
from the video, you have your front matter, it then runs the transcription, inserts the prompt automatically, feeds that to an LLM, and then gets the response back, puts that in with the front matter and the transcript, and then it's like just you could do the whole thing in a single command. So
Okay.
that
Yeah.
kind of took me on this whole journey of learning about node CLIs and just connecting to Whisper, which is like a C++ thing, and then figuring out how to feed that into a local LLM with like Olama. So we're kind of like getting ahead of ourselves with all these like
Oh,
buzzwords and
that's all
stuff,
good.
but that's like kind of the main thing that I wanted to do. Now, uh, I'm also thinking about now how do I use it more broadly as not just a tool for content creators, but how can I leverage now this pipeline that I have that the way I'm thinking of it, it kind of gives the LLMs the ability to work with now audio and to a certain extent video.
Okay.
Because even if you think of using ChatGPT and Cloud right now, you can give them pictures. And that's one thing that they kind of understand. But you can't
Yeah.
just like have it watch a YouTube video. Like it has no way of doing that. And you can't have it listen to a podcast. There's no way of doing that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I see this as a unique way to kind of leverage that capability and thinking of different personas. So there's like the content creator persona, which is what we've been talking about now. And then I'm
Yeah.
thinking of creating like a teacher persona where you could use it to take some of like your lessons or like your videos that you're showing your classes to generate like questions to like check for comprehension and
Oh,
or
okay. Yeah.
even generate syllabi for new classes if you have like the material you want to teach. And then other role would be like a researcher role for someone who is going through like large archives of like video or audio or like newsreels or things like that. It can help you parse through that and like put in more manageable shorter like summaries you can read. So if you
Okay.
have like 100 hours of like audio you need to like go through like to find something specific, you could kind of use that as a way to leverage its abilities to
Okay.
process large amounts of data. So that's kind of now my head is thinking of how do I kind of broaden the tool to other use cases that aren't just creating like show notes for YouTubers and podcasters. That's like a very
Okay.
narrow kind of persona.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's super cool. I mean, also side note, but Abby Manu in on YouTube's like, Anthony, how you doing? Why aren't you coming? Why aren't you doing live YouTube streams anymore these days? I'm guessing you've
Uh,
been busy.
that's a good question. Yeah, I got back into it a little bit right after I stopped doing Edgeo, and I
Okay.
had a good rhythm with my buddy Monarch, and then Monarch got a full-time job after like a couple months. And
Okay.
so I did some stuff and I scheduled some people. I haven't done one now. I think it's been about 2 or 3 months. But who was asking?
It's Abby Manu Santani. I'm guessing
Interesting.
it's one of your followers on YouTube.
No, I'm
Um,
sure that's
yeah.
whoever it is. That's cool that you're asking, and maybe I should do more. It's always hard because
Yeah.
life can be busy, but there's really no reason I shouldn't because it's nice to kind of have like a rhythm. So I'll bring you on as a guest.
Cool, cool. But yeah, I think that's great that you're thinking more of not just the content creator persona, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it's kind of good that you focused on that for now because you know what I mean, to get something out there. You know what I mean? Like if at the beginning you said, I'm gonna make a tool and it's for content creators, teachers, and this and this and
Hmm.
this, I feel like you probably wouldn't have made as much progress as you already have. You know what I mean?
Totally, yeah. And because I started with my own use case, and I had a
Yeah,
very clear idea of what I wanted, and then how to extend that, and how to kind of make it more and more useful for myself. And then as I was talking to people, I was getting more and more ideas. Like this is why I like doing streams with like people like you to show it. And then when I was just
yeah,
showing it to one of my friends who's not a developer at all, he's one of my old music major buddies. He's now a
yeah.
teacher. He was like, "Oh, we could do this," and I'm like, "Oh wow!" And then that kind of like opened up, a lot of doorways in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really great your idea of generating questions, for comprehension
Hmm.
of like text that people read.
Hmm.
Um, you know, for a couple reasons. One, we all know, like, at least in North America, teachers do not get paid well. So, like,
Hmm.
if this is a tool that can help accelerate, just generating comprehension tests, I think that's super cool. I almost even wonder too if you could, I'm thinking a little too far ahead maybe, but like instead of selling it to teachers, maybe even selling it to like
Well,
educational boards potentially, or
I did think about this, and what I want to do is make it have a 1 year free plan for
okay,
teachers. So if you have like a teaching, email or something like that, let them use it
yeah,
for a year for free. Because then they can kind of get the benefits of it and then see if it's something they're into and maybe like use it over the course of a year to find different things to do with it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then hopefully I'll get some teachers who use it through like that and then kind of get some feedback and get a little bit of
hmm,
that. And then if they see the value of it, then getting some sort of subscription from there on.
yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. It's because it's not a rug pull. It's really like you're getting
Hmm.
a free year. It's being very explicit. We want
Yeah.
you to probably make the product better too, but also like,
Hmm.
yeah, it really does sound useful, honestly. And already, like, I know we did a stream about this last time, but there's some improvements and stuff that we're gonna look at today. Also, hey Fuzzy, how's it going, my man?
So fuzzy.
Fuzzy's in the Twitch chat. Um, yeah, like this is super useful as a content creator because right now, like what I've been doing, like for example, like I gave I've given some talks and I have like my slide deck and stuff. And I didn't use
Hmm.
AI to generate those, but like I've been resubmitting some of these talks, and they've been asking for like, can you give a table of contents of the breakdown of the talk? So like for the talks I've already
I
given,
wish I
I
could
can.
do that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I've been doing this in Claude directly right now with just
Hmm.
Sonnet. So I just basically literally paste in the text version of my slide deck and I just say, can you generate a table of contents? And then I tweak it wherever I think I need to. And then it's not for all conference talk submissions. It's just some of them ask for a table of contents. And I was
Sure.
like, there's no way I'm typing this out, right? Like, but like I think like there's a lot of stuff like I've been leveraging Claude a lot for many things like stuff like this. Also sometimes summarizing certain things or like one of the flows I use quite a bit is like I've been taking voice notes, so I have like a rough draft
Hmm.
of like my thoughts, and then I just plug that into Claude to just say clean it up, and
Yeah.
that kind of becomes my first draft. It's not what I ship, but then it's like then I can like because you know what I mean because I'll typically be out for a walk and I'll be like recording something, and it's not always like coherent stuff, right? Oh, thanks for the
It's
kind
funny.
words.
It's
It's
funny you're
fuzzy.
saying this. So I bought my wife a voice recorder so she could
Okay.
do this specifically, and then I've been using those and feeding those also to Claude to give her like summaries of then the dump brain dump she does on her voice. So yeah, no, that's yeah, totally. And I use Autoshow for that. So this is
Yeah.
exactly the same kind of thing. Are there any other so these are super useful. Are there other things that you're
Yeah.
doing a lot with Claude aside from coding,
Uh
obviously?
yeah, yeah. No, like well, yeah, I definitely use it for coding, which doesn't really fall into this category really, but I mean,
Yeah.
it could eventually because like you could like be talking about like you're writing a technical blog post and you might have
Mhm.
code blocks and stuff. I know there's a product out there already called Blog Recorder from Eddie Vink. I met him at All Things Open, um, but it's specific to just blogging. Um,
Audio
but
turned into blog articles.
yeah, but typically my flow because like one thing I discovered over time was like I don't have any rhyme or reason to how I blog really. Like it'll
Sure.
be literally sometimes it'll be like Friday night and it's like because typically I'll write about stuff that I just did at work that I think is interesting or a problem I solved. And then I'll be like, okay, it just happens to usually be Friday night, but I'll be like, okay, I'm writing it now. And then I just do a brain dump and I just publish it and then I just keep editing it. But I noticed over time that like I have a hard time starting to write, and I noticed that like I bought this app called Voice Notes .ai, and it works really well. And I just started because I typically go for a long walk at night or like in the
Mhm.
middle of the day just to clear my head, and that's when I started recording things, and that's when I noticed like I was able to do more writing by just starting off with voice notes versus like
Yeah.
actually writing
Mhm.
something down, and like everybody's different obviously, but I just found that that worked better for me.
I think this really makes a lot of sense, and because I found that, like, this is why I loved podcasts, because when you did a podcast with someone, you could just kinda chat and flow,
Yeah,
and you ask them questions, and so, you could then take those same things and turn anything that you've had a conversation about into something like a blog post, and I
yeah,
think a lot of people who would have trouble really like sitting down and writing a lot, but could kind of like just talk would find the same workflow really useful in terms of creating more
yeah,
content.
yeah. And this would definitely, I mean, we're gonna look at auto show in a minute here, but maybe there could even be a path to where like you just start recording voice and then like on the fly it pipes it into auto show, maybe like I don't know,
No,
but
it's
like
it's totally possible because it's already
yeah,
set up to take in local files. So you
okay,
just need to have some way to record something and then just throw that file into the workflow.
okay. I'm just looking in the chat. Abimanu, apologies if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but they're saying not only for YouTube, you can extend it to books. With books, you can create talking books, book with MNS. I'm not sure what that is. Someone is reading it to indie with your backend integrated into a chat bot. It can be a virtual teacher to answer questions of a book as well. Um,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, answer questions about videos or
yeah,
audio or books, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
the last one of the last things I still need to build into this is some sort of embeddings thing for, like, also working with large amounts of text, like,
okay, yeah,
books and whatnot, but, that's very, very near on the roadmap 'cause, I think that's where it'll be really useful for the third persona, for the researcher persona, if you could take
yeah,
in
yeah,
large amounts of text from like documents and PDFs, and then combine that with large amounts of video and audio stuff. So you think about like the JFK assassination, like there's literally millions of pages of documents and like
yeah.
thousands of books and like more documentaries and like you could watch in like a year and like all this stuff. So
Hmm.
if someone wanted to research that subject, it's like, where do you even start with that?
Yeah,
Unless he's asking,
yeah.
yo, A Doc, how's this LLM lib going, dude? Going great,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, cool.
This is
Well,
yeah,
that's a good way to kickstart things. Let's
yeah,
like maybe look at some code here and stuff. So I have forked Autoshow, and I'm just gonna move this over here for a second. There's a few scripts you got me here that I should be running. So
yeah.
I'm just
Let
gonna
me
start
drop
off
this
there.
gist in
Okay.
the Twitch chat in case anyone wants it.
Oh yeah, cool, cool.
Moderator deleted my message. I thought I was a mod.
Yeah, you should be a mod. I've got to turn off Nightbot because like I saw somebody using Nightbot one time, and I was like, ah, that looks good, and uh, I don't know. I gotta just turn it off, but let me see if I can do something to fix that right now. Uh, I cannot. You want to just drop it to me in our personal chat there, and I
Yeah,
should be able to
yeah,
post it.
sure. Yeah, this way I can
And
get to the YouTube peeps as well.
yeah, and I'm gonna write down right now because this has happened a few times now. Nightbot, go bye bye. Okay. All right. Yeah, it was a good idea, but like, or I've got to tweak it because like I've allowed certain domains, but
Hmm.
it's just it's causing more friction than anything. So let me just go grab. Where is it? You can just drop it in Discord if you want. I'll grab
I
it
think
from
I
there.
did already. I think.
Oh shit, cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay, cool. Copy. Ba, ba, ba. Doo, doo, doo. All right, let's go pop that in here. I'll laugh if it moderates myself. Okay, now it's good.
That's good. And can you
There.
refresh the one that you have up? I realized I had a typo in the very, very last command, and I just fixed it.
Oh yeah, which oh in
So
the
in your
gist, yeah.
gist, yeah, in the
Yeah,
gist, just
yeah.
refresh it once. Yeah,
Cool. Yeah. Just
we may or may
refresh
not
it.
get to the Python stuff because
Okay.
that's how you need Python for the whisper diarization, but
I
it's super
should
duper
have
slow.
what do I have here? What's Python say? How do you do Python? Is it Python V to check the
Um,
version?
yeah, or Python 3 dash V. Or maybe
Okay.
not dash V. I'm not really sure. I'm not a big Python person, but I know you gotta do Python 3 instead of just Python by itself unless you've already configured it otherwise.
Okay. It says I'm on Python 3.11. But
So
anyways,
let's just have this running in the background for a sec while we do the other stuff. Open
cool.
up a terminal that you
Yeah.
can go away from and just do npm run setup dash Python.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I'll just make
No,
sure.
this is the one. So have you not run this one yet? Just the regular npm
No,
run
not yet.
setup.
No, no. I just cloned
Okay,
it before, so
okay, we gotta run that one first then actually. So go
yeah,
ahead and
yeah.
run that, yeah. And this might
Okay,
take a
so
little a little while.
oh, that's all good. I got a pretty fast internet connection, so it should go pretty quick.
Yeah, because what
Um,
this is doing, this is installing npm dependencies. It's pulling models down for Olama, which we can talk about what Olama is, and downloading a Whisper
okay.
CPP model. So do you know
Yeah.
about Olama?
Yeah, so my understanding of Olama, it's project out of Meta, and it's open source, it's free to use, it's the licensing is like pretty much anybody can use it forever without paying for it or being restricted. It's really more like if a Google or like a Microsoft started using it, they would probably go past the number of users allowed. I think that's kind of the gist of it, and
Okay,
it always runs locally.
so there's the llama, the model, and then there's Olama with an
Okay,
O at the beginning. That's an open source project. And then there's Llama CPP. So let me try and break down how these things fit together. So there's
cool.
just the pure models themselves, which is like if someone took ChatGPT or Claude and had the model and stuck on the internet, so you could actually download it and use it. So there's like Llama, there's Llama
Okay.
3, 3.1, 3.2 is all these different llamas, and that's created by Meta. And yes, you're
Yeah.
right. There's some weird licensing things, and their licenses have been kind of changing as they go through different versions. But then there is Llama CPP, which is by the same person who did Whisper CPP, which is
Okay.
an implementation of these models in C++ for like maximum performance.
Okay.
And that also lets you use any open source model you want. So you don't have to just, even though they're called Llama, you don't have to just use the Llama models. You can use, there's like
Oh, okay, okay.
NQWEN, there's Phi 3.5, there's Gemma, or that's the Google one. There's a lot of different open source models, and these
Okay.
different lot, and then Olama. Ollama takes Llama CPP and kind of adds nicer, more usability type features. So it
Okay.
handles where models are stored on your machine, and it handles pulling models. It gives you like nice commands, like you just do Ollama pull, whatever the model
Okay.
name is. And there's also like an official Ollama Docker image. So I kind of started with Node Llama CPP, which is the
Okay.
Node implementation of Llama CPP. And then I
Yeah.
tried to
Yeah.
just do Llama CPP by itself. And then I kind of found my way to Ollama. And now, like, Ollama is like, that's the way to do local LLMs
Okay.
with Autoshow. And I'm going to keep it with that. And I'm not going to mess with any of these other things. There's so many ways to do this crap. But I've learned a ton about actually running models locally in the process.
Okay, that's cool. Sorry, Fuzzy's making me laugh. Obama, Olama, Mama,
Ollama, Mama
Jama.
Jama. Yeah, right.
Anyways, okay, yeah, no, that checks out then, and like, because I've definitely heard of Llama CPP as well, because
Mhm.
my coworker John McBride, he's a big NeoVim fan, and he
Mm.
actually built he added kind of like Copilot for NeoVim by using Llama CPP,
Okay.
and I don't have the project handy,
Mhm.
but yeah, so like I'd heard of that, but like, yeah, to your point, like I thought it was always the llama model that was used with these things, but it's really more like it's just the interface to allow you to call whatever models, kind of like, I mean, not GitHub, but yeah, GitHub Copilot now in the chat, like you choose different models and stuff. I guess similar idea, but obviously just at a different level. But
Yeah, and so they're all built around something called the GGUF format, which is GPT generated unified format, I think is what that stands for. And
GGU, okay,
so this is really nice because it allows you to just download models as like single big files, and then that's what you work
okay,
with the model. So and then Olama will kind of make sure it's stored in the right place and can be accessed. And it also provides like a server and things like that. But if your
okay,
setup command is done, then we could
yeah.
run the first command.
Okay,
Uh,
let
the,
me get back to this one here,
yeah,
or
and yeah,
okay,
so and go all the way to the end because it has a couple flags.
okay,
And we'll explain what this does. So
okay,
this is going to so it's first npm run as, which is short for auto show, and
okay,
then dash dash, which is to feed in the any flags, and then it's a video. So you do dash dash video and then your YouTube URL.
okay,
And you could just do that. If you ran that, it would give you back the transcript and the prompt with
okay,
Whisper, and then you could use that with whatever LLM you want. But if
okay,
you add an LLM flag, then it will do the actual processing and create the show notes for you. And I'm
okay,
going to have us do Olama first because this is going to be all local. So this command, nothing is going out to a third party API.
okay.
You technically need internet, obviously, because you need to like do the YouTube link. But if you were
Yeah,
just
yeah,
doing
yeah.
a local file, you could run this all just on your machine without any internet access. And then the no
Okay,
cleanup flag. This is just because I want to kind of walk through the entire process. This will show there's some intermediary files that get created along the
okay,
way, and usually those all get deleted at the end. You just have like the one file because really that's what people want. People don't want all the other extra crap. But
okay.
yeah, so that's good. So after you ran that, you can see I also have some chalk colored terminal output now. So I got some,
Yeah, yeah.
like, you can kind of see what's happening very clearly. It tells you exactly what options have been passed. There's a video
Okay.
URL. Olama is set to true, and no cleanup is set to true. And then it gives you the
And
markdown. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yep.
oh no, I was just gonna ask. For the Whisper CPP, that's local transcription.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Okay, Fuzzy's asking, what about deployment? We can get to that after, I guess, and that ties
So
into you. Yeah.
yeah, so right now, I'm working on having like a unified Docker image that's going to kind of pull all this stuff together. Or a Docker Compose or some. Right now, it's using Docker Compose, and
Yeah.
the models are being saved like multiple times. So I'm like ending up with like a 50 gig image or something like that. So I
Okay.
have to work out some things with that. But you could run
Okay.
this like on a node server, and that's kind of where
Okay.
it'll likely end up going. Or you can run it if like put it on a Docker container on fly or something like that. But
Okay. Okay.
really, what I'm hoping to is eventually have a hosted version of this that people
Yeah.
will be able to use. But if people did want to actually just like run this and deploy it themselves, there will be a way to do that. Okay,
Okay.
something
So it
is
looks like the Olama server isn't running.
okay.
Um,
So so check your real quick. Let's see. Let me just look at the Llama docs.
there's Whisper CPP. That's all there. Let's close this.
So run Olama list.
Okay. Did this finish? Okay. Just like that.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
hard. It's hard to see.
Oh
Um,
wait, sorry, I spelled it wrong.
it's
It's
hard to
like
see
that,
by
right?
the way because you have your llama head is right in front of your
Oh,
terminal.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Here, let me fix that for you. Here,
Yeah.
I've
So
got
list
a.
List Olama list.
Okay. Duh, duh. Is it two
It's
L's
two L's, two L's. Yeah,
and two M's, right? Or one M?
one M. Yeah. Okay, so
Oh,
you haven't downloaded Olama yet, I don't think.
okay. I didn't see that in the gist, or did I miss that?
Oh no, I
Mm.
sent this is I sent you a message in Discord about it. I said to
Oh
download
shit.
Olama.
Sorry. Okay. Well,
No, it's okay.
that
Yeah,
probably
it's all
explains why we're running into issues. Okay, give me a
right.
sec.
Right.
I
It
see.
the set of commands should have. I guess the set of command doesn't fail if you don't, but it probably somewhere in the output of the set of a command it had a message that probably said you need
Okay.
to install Olama. I think
I've got the gist here. I don't see the message you sent me about installing Olama though.
it
You mind?
was it was right
You can just
before that. That was the message when you said right before cool pull down shortly. The last thing I said is also download Olama if you haven't already.
uh, the next thing I have after my cool is the gist,
No, I'm
and
saying before
then
the cool.
yeah, the
Yeah.
okay. Oh yeah, npm run setup auto show, which also download Olam. Okay, so I guess basically, how do I download Olamas or
Just go to just search for Olama and you'll get to the homepage. Yeah.
okay, all right, here.
Yeah,
Bum,
I
bum,
should have just
bum.
popped a link in
No,
there
no,
for
it's
you.
all good. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna pop that in the chat for people.
Mhm.
This is also why live coding is always fun, but in this case, it was me literally missing a step that Anthony explicitly told me to do before this stream. Okay, so I'm gonna download it for we're on Mac, so there we go. Okay, and boom. Okay, okay. Now where should I pop Olama? It's an app, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like downloading any kind of Mac OS app. So
Okay,
you just want to
cool.
put in your applications folder, and when you start it up, it will open in your menu bar, not in your dock.
Okay, there we go. Just give that a sec. Yes, I want to open it. I'm sure. Okay. Welcome to Olama. Next. Okay. Install it for the command line. Okay. All right. Run your first model. Sure.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
You,
We should.
yeah, so yeah, don't worry about doing that. Don't do that actually.
Okay.
So
Let
just
me
run
just make sure it's
npm.
a. Okay. We're
Yeah.
good.
So do npm run setup again because then this time it'll actually download the Olamas. Yeah. So if you see right there, it says Olama is installed. Sorry. Yeah. Olama server is already
Yeah.
running. Model is not available. Pulling the model. So
Okay. Cool.
the actually you should go to the code for the setup script so people understand
Okay.
what's happening here.
In the setup.sh.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay.
So this checks to make sure you have YTDLP, and then it copies over a .env file, which is
Okay.
necessary because how the node command is running.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the .env.
Cool.
Then there's the YTDLP there. YTDLP is the tool that interfaces with YouTube, so it can download
Yeah. Yeah.
video, strip the audio out, and get the metadata and all that. And
Cool.
then
Cool.
the Llama thing, it makes sure the server is running. because what Olama does is it runs on port 11434, and
Okay.
then that's how your computer kind of talks to it. And then
Okay,
it
gotcha.
downloads the Llama 3.2 1 billion and 3 billion parameter models. These are their new small Llama models, which kind of suck, but they run really fast, so they're good for
Yeah.
demos.
Okay,
Um,
so all right, so just a lot, basically a lot of checks and installing stuff if it's not there. Then it's
yeah.
doing npm install.
And then
Okay,
this is Whisper, so then it clones Whisper CPP, downloads the models, and runs the make command. I see a fuzzy.
okay,
So basically, I used to just have the README with like all these different steps, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to just make a setup command. The if you are on Windows or if you're on Windows, there's no guarantee and probably guarantee it won't work. So right
okay,
now, that's something that you shouldn't expect this to work cross-platform, but that will be something I'll want to prioritize
yeah,
at some point. But right now, it's just all built around Mac OS because that's what I develop on.
yeah, yeah. Well, if you end up running this in a container, like that's not an issue probably then. Um,
Ideally, it's like you now with Docker and the way Macs have like different chips and stuff. It even Docker containers like hard to make portable anymore. You got all
oh
these
yeah,
different
okay,
builds
I didn't
for
realize
different
that.
machines. It's not impossible. It's just extra steps that make things annoying.
Okay, so now it's working at this point because this is where we
Yeah.
ran into not being
So let's
found
actually
before.
let's go through. If you scroll up, we can go step by step with
Yeah.
what's coming out of the terminal. Yeah, so you have first it generates the front matter, and
Okay.
then it creates a markdown file with the front matter. It then downloads the video. It strips the audio out, so it goes straight to a WAV file, which is what you
Okay.
need to do for Whisper CPP to process it correctly. It
Okay.
then uses the Whisper model. So this, have you heard of Whisper or just in general Turbo V3? I don't know if you use
No,
Whisper much at all.
I've heard of Whisper CPP, but I haven't used it ever. So
So yeah, so there's Whisper itself is a Python library that was released by OpenAI, and they it's not like super duper maintained, but every now and then they do a new model, and so they recently put out one that's basically the same as their most recent large model in terms of in terms of how accurate it is in the transcription in terms of words, but it
okay.
runs twice as fast. So that's why it's called V3 Turbo, which is really
Okay,
cool because
gotcha.
this is a huge bottleneck in terms of how long it takes to do it. If you want to process like an hour long thing, it'll take like it could take like 5 to 10 minutes, whereas now it could
Yeah.
take like 5 minutes and like just flat. So that's cool.
Okay.
And what it does is it gives you a file, which I then do some transformations on, and we can look at those files once we get to the end. So then if you scroll down to step 4,
Oh yeah.
the
Sorry.
step
Here.
4 is where then we're using Olama. So it tells you the model that you're using, it checks the server is running, and then it sends a chat request with the
Okay.
transcript and the prompt. And then it gets that back, and then scroll down to the last step. Yes,
Okay.
then those are just explaining that creates the transcript, saved to a temporary file, and then it generates a new markdown file with everything all together. And
Okay.
then,
Cool. And then we're done.
yeah, okay, great.
Okay. Cool.
So
So if we look at uh, the folder for a second here, there should be.
So
Uh,
it's content at the very top.
okay. Cool.
Yeah, there
Okay.
you go.
So if we look here, I guess first one show notes. So like,
Yeah, so this is the complete one altogether.
okay. So this is nice because you've got the show link channel and stuff. Like this is the gray matter here. So like for example, like
Front
I'm
matter.
using yeah, front matter, sorry, not gray matter.
Yeah,
uh
that's your
uh,
brain.
yeah, 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 exactly. uh but this is cool because like I could potentially like generate a bunch of blog posts from this, or like quicks, like or the show notes like you were saying.
So what I also
And
have, if you look in the packages, I have an Astro site that is already set up with the content
okay,
type you would need for this.
okay, yeah, that was gonna, because that's what I was gonna say.
Uh-huh.
This could
Yep.
be at least an astral content collection,
Hmm.
and so you have it all set up to be type safe and stuff then, and that's cool.
Yeah.
That could be something else interesting, like going forward, like you could just like generate stuff for, like, I don't know, maybe not to get too far ahead, but like you could maybe even publish or put these things in draft to your blog. Like you'd have to wire that up maybe with a webhook or something.
So
But
that's
the
one of my plans, and one of the things I've been doing this with is I'm also using this as a way to create pages for all the video and
Okay,
podcast stuff I've done throughout the last like 3 years. I've done like 200 videos and podcasts altogether, and so
yeah,
this is a way you can get instant SEO for it because it gives you, all this stuff, and then you have a lot
okay,
of juice pointing at your site.
yeah.
And so
So
this output
here,
kind of sucks and is not even
okay,
really what we asked for. It doesn't do the chapters correctly. And this is because it's a really small model that I'm mostly just using for demo purposes. If you use a better open source model, you'll get a better output, but it
okay,
requires downloading like a 7 gig model instead of a 2 gig model. And it's kind of
okay,
challenging. So this is not
yeah, yeah,
the best representation of what you could get from the open source stuff. But
okay,
for the most part, if you can, using Claude or ChatGPT are going to give you much better outputs. And so if you look
okay,
at some of the intermediary files, like go back to the LRC one you were just looking at.
okay, yeah,
So this is what Whisper outputs. And then
okay,
what I do is I strip out the top line where it says Whisper CPP and I clean
hmm,
it up so the milliseconds are no longer there. Because if you think about it, when you feed this to your LLM, you're paying by the token. So
yeah,
both input and output token. Input tokens are a lot cheaper, so you can kind of get away with feeding them a lot of stuff like in the transcript. But if you can shorten it, that's always useful in terms of like cutting costs. So if you then
okay,
go to the TXT file, you'll see
yeah.
how it's transformed.
Oh, thank you
So
for
so
the follow. Sorry, somebody just gave me a follow. Thank
uh-oh.
you. I can't see the handle, but thank you for the follow. Um, yeah, sorry, you were
You just
saying?
open up your side thing again so you can see all the
Okay.
files. Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
one that is .txt.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
here's the
so that's
text file.
after so that's after the transformation. That's goes from the LRC to
Okay.
here. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then if you look at the actually I think that's all the files. Or because if you
Okay.
look at the markdown one that doesn't say show notes.
Okay. This one here. Okay.
Yeah, so that's just the front matter. So
Okay,
those
okay.
all of these files, these are the ones that if you don't run no cleanup will get deleted at the end, and you'll just have the one final clean
Okay.
file.
Yeah. But this is still already super handy because like I don't have this on my website right now, but if we come to like my streaming site, so this is an Astro site, but like basically I have my stream schedule here, which is like I'm
Mhm.
just pulling that from Airtable, but then I
Yeah.
have past streams, and this is just like from the YouTube API, and I just have like
Mhm.
the basic description and stuff, but long term, like whenever I get around to it, I want to have separate pages for each video. So like
Mhm.
when you click on this, it wouldn't be watch it on YouTube right away. It would go to another page, which is like the YouTube video embedded with like a summary, pretty much like kind of
Yep, exactly.
what we just generated.
Mhm.
So and I could see this like like just in terms of like blogging flow, because like for example, like right now what I do for my blog posts is I just pull in from the dev2 API my latest blog post, and I basically use dev2 as a headless CMS. But
Right,
I
yeah.
could definitely see the same kind of flow where I would set up a GitHub action where I'd say like, okay, get my latest YouTube video or the latest videos since the last video that I have,
Mhm.
and I could then say, like run Autoshow, generate the markdown, the front matter, all that. Make sure it's in the proper folder, in my blog, and then just update it, commit it, because like I already have code that does, creates a PR and auto merges it. So like
Mhm.
assuming whatever checks I did to say like I think this is good enough, it just merges it, or at a minimum, it at least puts up a PR that I can review, and
Mhm.
then that like already saves me like a ton of time, and it adds new stuff that I currently don't have, like the summary and the show notes, and like the chapters potentially too. And well, the chapters I guess you could republish to the YouTube video just so it's easier for people.
So what's
um
useful with the chapters especially is the way I'm having it output it. It does the timestamps in the
yeah,
format where if you drop it in your YouTube description, it detects those and makes the turns them into links to go to that
okay,
point in the video. And then also when you go to the YouTube chapters, instead of auto generating them, it uses those as the chapter titles. And it's actually
Okay,
like
gotcha.
knows how to understand that in YouTube speak.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so we did like a test run. Well, not test run, but we did a run with Olama.
Hmm.
But you can also, if I zoom this in here, wrong one. If we zoom in over here, we can also use Claude.
Yep.
So for this here, I need to add my own API key, right?
Yep. Hmm.
Okay, cool. So let me do that. I'm just gonna switch us to just chatting view for a second, just so I can set up stuff. Um, and I'm just gonna go to. I actually
And
have
while
a
you're doing
generated API key.
No, no, and while you're doing that, I can kind of go through all the. I support so many LLMs. I
Okay.
support ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, just Google's, Cohere. They have their Command R model, Mistral, which has both open source models and their own models. Um,
Okay.
so those are the ones that have kind of their own stuff. And then I also support. There's these three companies called Fireworks, Together, and Grok. They all basically run open source models for you. So you could use some of the nicer, bigger ones that are
Okay.
while they are open source and you can run them on your machine, your machine might not be able to handle it, or it'll just take so long. It's kind of ridiculous. So
Okay.
those are nice because they kind of give you this halfway point between fully proprietary, gated third party stuff and more open source stuff that you can run on your machine but may not be as good. They're kind of a nice kind of mid ground. So that's like I think
Okay.
that's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine different options.
Uh, cool. Here, I'll just switch back for a second. I've got to get the API key on the Anthropic site, but I'm going here,
Yeah.
API, and what do I have to do here? Start building, I
Try and get
guess.
to your we'll try and get to your dashboard. Are you logged
Yeah.
in?
I don't even see a login here. Start building maybe. Oh, there we go.
I mean, I would just
Okay.
Google Anthropic API key.
Yeah, no, that's what I did. That's what
Oh,
took me
okay.
here.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah,
Okay, that's not a good thing. Actually, try go to Anthropic console. That's what you want.
yeah, that's where I am. So I wonder if this is different than Claude because I have a paid Claude account, but okay, just give me a sec here. Sure, consulting tech. It's just asking me to fill out my what my company is. All right, create account.
Yeah, ChatGPT,
Workbench.
both OpenAI and Anthropic both do this to where they have like their main chatbot kind of product and they have like a developer dashboard and the two are kind of like separated from each other.
Yeah, the thing that's not clear to me is like I paid for Claude AI, but I don't know if that means like Anthropic, because there's Chat GPT, for example, but then there's
Hmm.
the API, and I'm not sure if it applies. But anyways, let me go ahead and I'm just gonna add my key for Anthropic. 2 seconds here. All right, that should be good. Okay, I think we're good. Close. Boom. Boom. All right, let's go back to pairing view. And let's close that. All right. All right. So I have a environment key for Anthropic now. So I should have access to Sonnet. So let's copy this one. We'll find out very quickly if it worked or not. But
Yeah, and in this command now people can see we didn't just do like before we did dash dash olama, and you could do this with any of the different options. You can pick dash dash ChatGPT or dash dash Claude, and if you just do that, it will use the default model, which I kind of
okay.
usually go towards the cheaper versions, the cheaper models, or you can feed it a specific model, and so that's why we're giving it
Okay.
Claude 3.5
Yeah.
Sonnet.
Yeah, Sonnet's really great. Like I've been using it for literally everything, blogging, code, and
Yep.
the artifacts in Anthropic are pretty solid, or like in the Claude chat. But anyways, okay, let's go ahead and run this.
Yep.
Hopefully my API key is good. All
Mhm.
right. So we're going through the same flow again, obviously, and then I guess it'll just differ once we get to where it was running Olama before. It should just
Yeah, we
hit.
can. Yeah, once we get the output for this, we can kind of walk through some of the code and show how this is going. But essentially, the only
Cool.
thing that is different is that there's a point where instead of giving the everything to Olama, it gives it to the Claude
Yeah.
API, and so it talks to their API service and then gets the response back.
Yeah. I guess. Okay. So
Uh
type
oh.
error.
Your balance is
You're.
too low, so you might need to buy some credits. Sometime like
Okay.
a lot of these you have to start by buying like $20 in credits or something.
Okay.
So
All
that
right. I'll
might be
go ahead
something
and do
to
that.
you'll at least I can give you my key if you don't want to go through the whole process of
Oh no,
putting
no,
in
it's all good.
credit card and whatnot.
It's all good. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna. This is what I meant about like buying Claude AI versus Anthropic. You know
Why
what?
don't we do this? Um,
Okay.
you should just run it without the Claude flag, and then we can copy paste the output into Claude.
Oh, okay, okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, cool,
'Cause
cool.
that's how we used to always do this actually, and so this is kinda shows how people can do this if they have, like, a subscription, and they don't wanna, like, have to go through the whole thing of having an API key and whatnot. Because if you
Okay,
want, you can just and then people will be able to see the prompt too.
okay, cool.
So,
So
I don't think
I
you did
got rid
that right.
of. Got rid of.
So you
It's
gotta
just
get rid
Claude.
of Claude, both Claude and the not just the Claude bottle name, but also the dash dash Claude. Yeah, uh-huh,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
So just to be clear, when we're not passing anything, what does it default to then?
So the default doesn't give it to an LLM. It just gives you the
Oh, okay,
transcription
okay,
and the prompt.
okay,
So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Because then you can
okay,
just copy paste that into whatever LLM you want.
okay. Yeah,
And this is
gotcha.
the how so this is how the project was first built, and it worked like this for a long time because I didn't wanna have to pay with the API every time I wanted to, like, generate one of these, so I already was paying $20 a month for Claude and
Yeah.
ChatGPT. So for me, like, economically, it just made more sense to not use
Okay.
their APIs, but just use their chat interfaces and leverage the fact that I'm paying for a subscription. But
Yeah.
it's cool to have it as an automated step also, because if you did want to process, 100 things, having to copy paste all of those and then copy paste them back into, the file, that would take you like
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours. So it's just not really doesn't really make sense.
Cool. Cool. All right.
Okay.
So I should grab which file? I should grab
The
the
one that has the
MD.
word prompt at the end.
Okay. So whoops, didn't mean to copy that. Yes, undo. All right. Cool. And let's just get rid of that. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. And so what's the prompt I should ask? Just
So you just no,
generate.
you just you don't write anything. You just copy paste the whole thing in.
Okay.
Yeah, so and go
Do.
back and let's like actually read the file for first. So says this is a transcript of timestamps. It does not contain copyright material because Claude will constantly like
Oh, okay.
answer
Okay.
back that like this has copyright material. It's like no, it doesn't. If you just tell it it's not copyright, then it just goes this is because they auto
Okay.
inject some
That's
copyright check. Super
good
annoying.
old prompt engineering stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
anyway, this is the default prompt. You can also configure the prompt and do different things. The default tells it to write one sentence description, one paragraph description, and then chapters, titles,
Okay.
and descriptions. And that gives an
Okay.
example of what that should look like in Markdown if you scroll down a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Okay, yeah, yeah. No, I've done stuff like this before at open source where we have to
Mhm.
we give examples and
And then if you
okay,
keep
yeah.
scrolling all the way to the bottom, you'll see past that, you'll see the transcript. So scroll up to the very sorry, not all the way to the bottom. Scroll up to
Yeah.
to the beginning of the transcript section.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's where you have the transcript down. So when you use an LLM flag, it feeds this entire file to an LLM, and then the response it gets back, it puts in
Okay.
place of where the prompt is. It removes the prompt, keeps the front matter in the transcript, and then inserts the response
Okay.
from the LLM in between. Because the way we're doing this now, we copy paste it, then you can copy the response from Claude and copy it
Yeah.
over the prompt in here, and then you'll get the final output. There's those manual steps of having to give it to the chat interface, which is what
Okay,
you're
gotcha, gotcha.
bypassing by using an API key.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Cool,
Mhm.
cool. All
Yeah.
right, cool. Oh, hey, Nixia, thanks for joining us
Hello, hello.
over on Twitch. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And one thing I was thinking of, just like when you go to productize this, is so like you have the prompt right with stuff like write a one sentence description or like maybe there's some things that you just shouldn't change, but like options like, the one paragraph summary should be like 600, 1200 characters. Those could just be settings that, like, when you people tweak those settings, it'll just generate the proper prompt based on what they chose. You know what I mean? Like they
That's so
might.
that's how so you can so that's exactly how the prompt configuration works. So there's a dash dash
Okay.
prompt flag, and you could do short chapters, medium chapters, long chapters. You can also
Okay.
do like titles. You can do key takeaways and other stuff like that. So yeah, that's
Oh,
one of the
cool.
things that and I'm eventually gonna have just a entire custom prompt section where you can just write your own prompt and
Okay.
inject that in. But right now it has some prompts that I like and I think work and you know
Okay.
because of how it's formatted, you're getting things like the chapter timestamps if you put this in YouTube. Anyway,
Yeah.
someone's
Yeah. No,
asking,
for sure.
someone's asking, is 150 lines of code prompt normal? That's a really good question. It really depends how reproducible you want the output to be. Because I could just give it like 2 or 3 sentences asking it what to do, but then it will respond in different ways with different formatting and different kind of lengths and all
Hmm.
sorts of different things. So the reason why this prompt is so long is something very, very specific about what I want, and then give an example, which adds a bunch more text. But then it always
Yeah.
comes back looking the same, which is especially nice then with like once you go into the Astro site kind of thing because you want them to kind of look similar if you want it to be like
Yeah.
a website that has links for your videos. So yeah, and like I said, you can configure the prompt. So if you want to just do just the summary or just the chapter, you can do that. But
Okay.
I think when it comes to prompt writing, there's a lot of different schools of thought, but they tend to be pretty lengthy and are
Yeah.
only getting shorter now with things like O1, which are able to kind of think through multiple steps so you don't have to be quite as explicit with all the things you want. But I
Yeah.
haven't really been using Autoshow much yet with O1 because they have a really strict message limit. They only give you 50 messages a week, which I'm using
Okay.
for coding. So I haven't really messed around much to see how different it is in terms of it being able to generate these show notes.
Yeah. From what I've seen, you do have to be verbose and stuff, and you have to be like, like, just to avoid it hallucinating as well. You have to be like, only return this if you're absolutely certain that this is like a user or something. Like, for example, like in um in open source, so we use Star Search, which is our AI offering, and
Mhm,
uh, basically you have to say stuff like don't hallucinate like the username, because, like, for example, like my coworker Brandon Roberts, his handle on GitHub is Brandon Roberts, but then we also have like a Bing service that goes and gets additional information,
mhm,
and for that Bing service, like, we kind of say like, whatever you return, it's only good if it's literally Brandon Roberts, the GitHub username, because it was
mhm,
initially returning some, like, it was just hallucinating. It got something about Brandon Roberts, but it was not Brandon, my coworker. And there's stuff like that, like literally writing in caps, kind of
mhm.
like scolding a child, which sounds kind of funny, but it's that's like, there's
Well,
just weird
in the
stuff
chat,
like
someone's
that.
like, "Any, please do it, or I'll be fired and made homeless."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
threaten it a bit.
Yeah, and even like a lot of times I've done like, you must absolutely put it in this format, and then you give an example, like you have your example down here, for
Yeah,
example.
that really makes a big difference. If you give it an example of exactly what you want, it's less likely to go off the rails.
Yeah, no, exactly. But okay, so this is cool. So you've obviously thought about a lot of things, because I was suggesting, like, options for the prompt, but
Mhm,
uh you've got flags for that. So, like,
mhm.
if once you were to productize this, you could just surface that in a UI, but under the hood it would
Yep,
call the CLI with those flags and stuff. And okay,
yep, exactly. Mhm,
no, that's cool. That's cool. So I guess, like, what's for auto show right now? Like, obviously people can still just grab this, it's open
mhm.
source, and they can pop in their own keys if they want, and it's definitely a useful tool that way, for sure. Like, I'm definitely gonna mess around with it, just because there's stuff I need, and it's like, I'll probably pay some Anthropic credits instead of having to just paste it right into,
Mhm,
Claude AI, because it's kind of like an annoying step, and I can definitely
mhm.
take the $20 hit. But but I guess like in terms of like productizing it, I know I know one thing that a lot of people struggle with are trying to find like a good balance is like pricing because
Mhm,
like for example that app I was talking about at the beginning, voice notes.ai, I got in early, so I paid like $50 for a lifetime membership,
mm.
which there's no way like you could have everybody on that because it just wouldn't scale price wise for like the amount of prompts and stuff you're going to be doing. But like I guess it's trying to figure out what the bare minimum is on average to get sensible like generation of stuff without breaking the bank, but then you obviously have to add some kind of margin because you're building a product around it. And I feel like that's probably like I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that or any kind of process you've been doing to try and figure that out or
Well,
if
I
you're not
have
even there yet.
so So I have thought about this and I have a pretty good idea of what I plan to do. So there's an app called Photo AI, which is
Okay.
built by Levels IO. He's
Okay, yeah,
indie
yeah.
hacker. He's got like all these different products. He's big on Twitter. I really like his model, which is that you buy credits and then you use credits to generate the stuff you want. So you could,
Oh,
buy
okay, okay.
a certain amount. You can buy, you spend $10 a month, get a certain amount of credits, or like $50 a month, get way more credits. And then the the cost of credits will the amount of credits you pay will be depend on how you're configuring it. So you can choose
Okay.
I'll allow you to choose the different Claude models, different ChatGPT models. You can select the exact tech you want, but they'll use different amounts of credits if they're more expensive. And so
Yeah.
that's where I don't need to kind of I can be fairly certain that I'll have a lot of control over the margins because they'll
Okay.
be kind of quote unquote paying every time they generate a script, and it will vary based on how
Yeah.
much it's costing me. And then anytime they want to buy more credits, they can buy more credits.
Yeah, yeah. Nixia in the chat saying, yeah, credits is a nice model. So just to be clear, like obviously there's a cost that you have to pay to the AI services. So like it would be your credits. So like whatever, like I don't know. I'm making up numbers here, but like say it
Mhm,
costs 10 cents for I don't know a thousand tokens to be sent to Anthropic,
mhm.
and then you're like, well, this is my product, so I need to make some money. So I don't know, you add 1 cent to it, so your credits are like 11 cents, and that's what you sell, not the actual AI credits, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm inventing
Yeah.
the idea of a credit that people will be
Okay.
buying in Autoshow, and that will
Yeah.
translate to some amount of money. And then I'll, on
Yeah.
the back end, have a way of calculating how much it's going to cost. Like this is one of the things
Yeah.
I'm going to be implementing the next like week or so is in the terminal
Okay.
output. I'm going to have it estimate what you're paying because there's the input tokens and output tokens and it's different for each model. So I'm gonna
Okay.
build in each into like an object variable for each model, so like the model name and then the
Okay.
cost, and then I'll just have like do some math by timesing the inputs and output tokens by the cost, putting it together, and then it can actually surface that exact cost for the thing you just ran in the CLI.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You could have like a dry run that says like, oh, this is gonna cost you 50 tokens, but you only have 30 top up or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, no, that makes a
or
lot of sense.
use a different model, use a cheaper model if you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And no, that's I don't know. I'm excited for to see this land because like I'll definitely use the open source stuff but if it gets
Mhm.
productized, then obviously it's just easier to use potentially. I mean, I can still fiddle around with the CLI, um, but I wonder if would you productize the CLI itself as well? Like because like there's like picture like a content creator who's not a dev maybe, so they're just like, okay, let me go to the website, upload,
Mhm.
put the link to my YouTube, and then it just generates stuff and they download it or whatever.
Mhm.
But like me as a dev, I'm like, this is super useful to me, but I want to put this in my CI/CD pipeline. I feel like you could also monetize the CLI in the same manner. Like it's just a different way of surfacing its usage, but maybe that's out of scope of what you want to do.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting. The way I've been thinking about it is that the CLI was going to be open source, and then that kind of provides the base for the server and the front end, which become the kind of paid thing. Like, I guess my question for you is like, how would that work exactly in like paying for the CLI? Would that just be like
Yeah.
a packaged like product that you would like buy a license for or something?
Yeah, it's true. I'm trying to think about it now. It's like I guess if I'm a dev, I'd probably just pay my own credits and use the yeah, that would probably make more
Because
sense.
the idea for the front end is that it's for people who don't know how to spin up a Git repo and run,
Yeah, yeah.
terminal commands and all that kind of stuff. So that I haven't really thought about, because to me that seems like the much bigger market. Because if
Oh
someone
yeah, for
could
sure, for
use the
sure.
open source thing, then like why would they need like a slightly nicer CLI version of it,
Yeah, yeah,
But
no, that's true.
yeah, I would need to
No,
see more examples of like what, because like people, there's things companies like Warp, which are like terminal companies, but I feel like
yeah,
it's rare that I see like a CLI that's a paid product. Like the closest thing would
yeah,
be like Docker, but they force you to like use their Docker desktop thing, so they don't even
yeah,
really
yeah.
let you just have the CLI, which would be nice actually.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like it would make more sense because I know what I'm doing in the CLI. I'll
Mhm.
just I'll put my API key for whichever models I want to use and then pay that directly. I guess the only thing you maybe suggest, and obviously it's a do as you wish kind of thing, but just you could always have something like if you want to sponsor the project, like as a dev, I
Well, there
would
is a I do have a sponsor thing in the .github. So if you
oh
go
okay.
to the repo, there will be a sponsorship thing that shows up. It's like any other sponsor at GitHub
Okay,
doing
okay,
kind of
cool. So
thing.
you
So
got
it's
that
not
already.
super prominent, but that is set up if anyone wants to sponsor me.
Oh, okay, okay, cool, cool. All right, so that's there. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so basically, just forget what I was saying about the CLI then.
No, it's an
But
interesting thought. Yeah, because there's so many ways to try and make money off of open source stuff. But
yeah,
I think just people just want apps. Like they want to just go to a site and log in, do the thing they want to do.
yeah, yeah. No, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I know, and I think you're right. Like, because I'm thinking, like, well, what if I spin a UI locally? But like at that point, just go to the hosted paid thing. Like it's not worth it.
Yeah,
And you're
that's one of the
you're
things
totally right.
I've gone back and forth on is whether to even make the front end like open
Yeah,
source or not, because it's going to eventually have like auth logic built in
yeah,
and all of
pricing
that.
and all
So
that stuff. Yeah,
yeah, so I'm thinking I
yeah.
might just not even just like have the server be open source and you can still
Hmm.
run that and host if you want, but then just
Yeah.
have the front end site where that's going to be just being like a private repo. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. It's I am excited to see where this goes though, because like it is like I'm sure other people are potentially doing similar things, but like
Oh, well, yeah, tons. There's, like, so
yeah,
many versions of this already, but,
yeah,
I find that they're all kind of obscure, and most people who aren't into tech don't know about any of them. So I'm just trying to, like, ride this
yeah,
wave
yeah,
with all of them.
yeah. No, and I think it's smart you're going with like not just like 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 I've heard very good things about Blog Recorder. I haven't used it because basically I use my voice notes and like I said, I just go into Claude and that's good enough
Mhm,
for me for my workflow for blogging. but
yeah,
but I've heard definitely amazing things about it. But I like the angle you're taking where it could be YouTube, it could be audio, and like because I could totally see like because we were talking about this at the beginning, but like you just get a media recorder kickstarting in like the browser, or like I guess if you
mhm,
did a mobile app, you could have the same thing, and they record, and as it records, or once they're done, they're like you'd probably have to put a limit on how long the voice note could be or whatever, but then you pipe that right away to the thing, and then
mhm,
I don't know. I don't know. It's just pretty interesting, and honestly, I'm very impressed with everything you've done. To be honest,
cool.
it's I have to dig into the code because I haven't really. I've been more a consumer of things like this.
Mhm,
Like even like at Open Sauce, for example, like I built out the experience in the app, and I
mhm,
did a bit of work on an AI agent, and I've done some stuff with like the Copilot extensions, like we were talking about, but I've typically been a consumer of the AI offering as
mhm,
opposed to building it. You know what I mean? So
mhm.
that's why I need to spend some time digging into your project because you've clearly how long you been working on this now?
At this point, it's been it kind of depends when you say I started it, but somewhere between like I would say 6 to 9 months, probably closer to 9 months now. But
Okay, okay.
yeah, and it's just kind of been piece by piece by piece. I've been going,
Yeah.
but we can go through the relevant code files for the commands we ran and kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah.
explain how that whole flow happens. Because
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Cool. Let's go back to pairing view here.
yeah,
Cool. All right. So let me just close this here, and then let's just open up the sidebar for a sec to
yeah.
see what we
So
got
let's
in
look at
here.
yeah. So just open up src and let's
Okay.
go to the entry file, which is going to be autoshow.ts.
Okay. So let's take
Yeah.
a peek here. So this obviously a node script, but okay. So we've got a bunch of imports here. You're using commander.js, I think you said.
Yeah, that's the what does the CLI, yeah. And then
Yeah.
also Inquirer is for interactive prompt, which we could
Okay. Yeah.
also
Yeah.
show if we want. So that, like it'll walk you through each step, it'll ask you what you want to do. So also it surfaces all the different options to you.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I'm familiar with Inquire because when I did some work on the Remix Edge adapter at Nullify, the Remix CLI uses Inquire as well. It seemed
Oh,
pretty
cool.
pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are just the different commands for processing. So process video is for a YouTube URL, process
Okay.
playlist is for a YouTube playlist URL, process channel is for a YouTube channel URL. You run every single video on the channel. And then
Okay.
process URLs is if you just have a file with a list of URLs. So if you want to grab a
Okay.
bunch of random YouTube videos that aren't already in a playlist. And then
Okay.
process file will be a local file instead of a YouTube URL, and then process RSS is an RSS feed for any podcast. So that has a whole bunch of
Okay.
custom logic in it. That's totally different from all the other stuff because it's about
Okay.
working with an RSS feed instead of a YouTube thing.
Yeah. Well, there's the RSS for audio, like you said, like for podcasts, but you could also use this for a YouTube playlist. Because
Yes,
like
you,
that.
you can. Um, I found that because I was using YTDLP, that just didn't really make a whole lot of
Oh,
sense.
okay. Yeah,
And
you
I
might as
don't
well
like the
leverage that. Yeah.
YouTube API. I've used it before, and it just kind of bugs me. I find it frustrating. It has like all these weird quirks, like you can only get like 10 videos back from it at times. Like you're always working with pagination if you're working with like any kind of amount of videos, and just
Okay.
stupid crap like that. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Okay. So we don't have to go through all the code necessarily, but this is just a function just to check that you passed in a valid action so we can do stuff. So this is kind of like
So this is where
this.
the CLI itself is defined, and this is kind of commanders stuff. So there's the different processing options. Those are all the ones I just explained.
Yeah. Okay. So basically all the flags that are available, like if you
Mhm.
ran help or if you just ran the, I think if
Yeah.
you run auto show on its own, it just gives you this too. Uh,
If you run it on its own without passing anything, it goes to the interactive prompt. You need to do
oh,
dash
okay. Okay.
dash
Gotcha.
help to get this.
Okay. Cool. Okay. And I see also for transcription, you have like deep gram and stuff and,
Yeah, DeepGram and
uh,
Assembly are the two transcription services that I offer. Those are I haven't put a ton of work into those because I always use Whisper myself. But I originally made those available because you could do diarization with those, which is speaker labels. Because that's a huge
okay.
limitation of Whisper is it just gives you a single output of text with nothing connected to
Okay.
speakers. I did also integrate Whisper diarization, which is a open source library for giving Whisper the diarization abilities, but it
Okay.
runs extremely slowly. So I'm kind of trying to figure out. Well, I'm not trying to figure out. They are already working on a way to make it much faster by having you download
Okay.
less dependencies, but it's like in a future release that's not out yet. So
Okay.
that's
Gotcha.
coming eventually. But anyway, part we're at right now is the LLMs, so like Olama, ChatGPT, Claude, all that
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Because like I know like in Descript you can identify speakers and stuff,
Hmm.
and it can be handy. I don't know. I use it sometimes. Like I used to use Descript all the time for a lot of stuff, but since a lot of these things are, I can do these things with the chats or like the LLMs now, and especially if I have something like Autoshow now, it's like
Hmm.
I don't really have to use Descript for that,
I basically
So
built Autoshow because I didn't want to pay for like Descript or something like it. Like, yeah,
That said, Descript is a great product, but
It is, yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So we got all the flags here that you could use, the different models, and then you could specify the model version, like we were showing before, like with Claude Sonnet 3.5. Um, I didn't. What's Fireworks? I've heard of. I know Mistral, but that's just another type of
Yeah,
model, I guess.
so Fireworks is you can check out their website if you want. They're like Together and Grok. Those three are all kind of similar in that they run open source
Okay.
LLM. So you can run any of the Llama models or stuff like that. But they give you like the really big ones like Llama 3.1
Okay.
405 billion parameters, which is like way too big to run on most people's machines.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's see here. Sorry, got distracted by something on my other screen. All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
so the last
So
ones are the
okay.
utility options, which aren't that we already kind of saw those. The no
Okay.
cleanup,
Yeah.
which gives you all the files at the end, and then prompt if you want to select certain prompts. Then the interactive one is oh yeah, I think I actually changed it so running npm run Autoshow by itself doesn't go the interactive. You have to do the dash I for the
Okay.
interactive flag because something weird was happening when I the way I was doing it before. But anyway, then there's some
Cool. Cool.
examples, documentation. This is all TS doc. It's like JS doc for
Yeah.
TypeScript. I got
Okay.
into all of
Cool.
that for the first time.
Okay. So yeah. So then we've got the apps options, and then uh,
Yeah, so
if you get
this stuff is not that important. This is kind of the logic that Commander needs to work. We should the next file we should go look at is we should look at the we should just like scroll all the way to the end so people kind of see how it finishes. But there's
okay.
just right there. It's just that's the end of the
Okay.
file.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
if you go to process video, that is will explain the whole flow. That is we kind of have been explaining with this because this breaks it
Cool.
down into a couple different functions.
Okay.
So you can just
All
scroll
right. So we
past all this, go to the
yeah.
actual code part.
All
Yep.
right. So we try here.
Yeah, so
Okay.
first it runs generate markdown, which that is what creates the first part of the file. It gets all the metadata. And each one of these functions are a file in the utils folder. But let's just
Okay.
go through them each step by step. And then
Yeah.
after that is the download audio function. That is what does the conversion from video to audio and gets it in a
Okay.
format that's ready for Whisper. Then
Yeah.
it runs the run transcription function, and run transcription is generic and can be used with Whisper or DeepGram or assembly. And so that calls out to different files for each of those depending on what flags you're using. And it's the same
Okay.
thing with the run LLM function. So basically, I've decomposed each step down into their own functions. And then the different services are all specific files that are called out to from those functions. And then the
Okay.
very last, oh yeah,
I was just seeing here, just taking a
cool.
peek.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you got your map of which ones to call, then you just call the
hmm
specific one, and okay,
Yep.
cool. And if we just close that, yeah, sorry. Then
Yeah,
we got the
and then clean up.
options.
Yeah, and then clean up files is the final one that just deletes all the extra files at the end. So there's five
Okay,
kind of pieces, and that's when the terminal is outputting. They will say step one, step two, step three, step four. Those are steps that correspond to these five functions, and
okay,
these
gotcha.
are this is how anything is processed, whether it's video or an audio URL, whether you're using one LLM or one transcription service. This is kind of like the workflow. This is how the whole thing works with these five
Okay,
steps.
yeah. I think what one suggestion I'd have is so when it generates, like I know you can do the cleanup, but like say it generates
Mhm.
these, if you want to do multiple runs, do you delete them at the beginning if they weren't deleted, like, or does it just overwrite
Yeah,
them? Or
yeah. So
okay,
that's one thing that's can be a bit challenging. So if you want to do multiple runs on one thing, with like different LLM services, it always attaches the name of the LLM service at the end. So they won't
okay,
necessarily overwrite each other. But if you did, like if you ran one with, say, or if you ran one twice, the same
yeah,
thing with the same LLM service, then yes, it would write over it. So that's something you kind of got to
okay,
be wary of. It is set up in a
yeah,
way where it will give it a every video, whatever video you give it generates a unique name. So you're not going to get like
yeah,
name clashes or things like that. But
yeah,
if you
yeah,
do multiple runs, that's the same thing, but like slightly different, then that you may end up
yeah.
running into that. So
Yeah, I'm just thinking like once you do productize it and like more than one person's using it, I mean, it shouldn't be an issue, but you could always just append like a timestamp, you know what I mean, or something, just to make it unique. But I'm getting like kind of into the nitty gritty. It's not.
Well, once it's a product, every run that someone will do will have to save the output like into a database that can then be accessed. So that's
Okay, yeah,
probably what it'll end up being.
okay, okay, yeah. It could be. I'm just thinking about the product version here, but like,
Mhm.
because like I've hung out with the Terso folks a couple times on stream,
Sure. And that's
and
some the kind of thing almost like he'd be using is some sort of SQLite thing, you know?
yeah. Well, because it's interesting because they have you can have like a parent schema and then just spin off like you can have multi-tenant like for schema,
Mhm.
which is kind of interesting. So like every time you have a new customer, it could spin off like a new database, which is that particular customer, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
then it
Mhm.
would have the same schema always, like, and then I don't know. And then obviously like they store their stuff and then like it could also be interesting like if somebody decides to cancel the product for whatever reason, they you could probably downloading their data would be pretty easy. You could even say like here's a, if you wanted to have it after, like here's a
Mhm.
SQLite dump, or not that
Yeah.
you want people canceling the service, but
Yeah, no,
um
yeah, totally, but definitely having ways of exporting all of your stuff at once, that's gonna be very important,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Could be interesting to chat with Jamie Barton over there at Terso. If you go the SQLite route,
Yeah, no,
Terso seems
I
pretty
know him,
solid.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. He was on JS Jam way back because,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Terso was at, one of the, Remix Conf, I
They were
think was the one.
yeah, they were at Remix Conf because that's where I met Glauber.
Yeah, mhm,
Okay, cool, cool. All right, so I know we're getting close to time here, about 8 minutes left here. Just want to be mindful of your time.
yeah.
But this is very cool. Is there any other code you want to show, or we can kind of just switch back to just
Okay,
chatting view and kind of wrap things up?
so
Or
someone's asking, this is a good question, whether it's possible to redo a single chapter. So the way it's set up right now, if you get an output that you want to tweak, um, it can be so if you're working through a chat interface like we just did with Nikki
yeah,
T, we copy paste it into Claude. You can just tell Claude, "Hey, could you change this? Could you, redo this? Could you make it slightly different?" And that's something I will
yeah,
do sometimes when I'm using this for myself. Is I'll tell it sometimes to um, create longer or create more chapters and longer chapter descriptions because sometimes they'll just do a couple
okay,
chapters and they're like a short kind of description and I'm like, no, it's like a 2 hour video, I need like 8 chapters.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the thing that is not currently really built into the CLI workflow because it's just set up to do a single call and response to do like a one shot generation, and it's just working with message history and whatnot gets really complicated really fast. So this is
yeah,
something
yeah,
I kind of have to work on. And yeah,
yeah,
don't worry about missing the first. We haven't talked about this yet, so this is a good question.
yeah,
So
yeah,
in terms of letting people kind of like tweak it, that's something that I still kind of have to figure out.
yeah,
But I would recommend, if this is the type of thing that people are interested in,
yeah.
to do the leave out the LLM flag and just get the prompt and then put that straight into the chat because then you can kind of have more
Okay,
flexibility in how you modify. And then you can also just do the thing where you can like ask
yeah,
ask questions based on the transcript you gave it and kind of talk with it and like do
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah. No, for sure. I'm trying to think of like once it's productized, like maybe, like you said, you're gonna store it in the database, but Nixia was saying, like if they want to change a single chapter, like maybe in the UI that you surface, they
Having a
could
text
highlight,
editor. Yeah,
yeah, and they
that's
highlight it and you just say go
yeah.
update it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Because that's a lot of the LLMs have that kind of capability already. Now I know with like Claude, you can highlight
Hmm.
certain parts of like your code and just tell it to like ask questions or
Yeah,
whatever.
but yeah, I gotta say, I said it before, but this is like super cool and ambitious project. But it
Oh, we just got a
seems,
huge raid, by the way.
oh shit, I didn't see. Oh, holy, hey Melky, what's up, my man? Nice, thanks for the raid. Uh, yeah, yeah, appreciate it. yeah, we're just wrapping up, but thanks for joining everybody in Melky's crew. We've been talking. I've been talking with my buddy Anthony Campolo. He's been working on a project called Autoshow, and I don't know if you want to just give a TLDR again, just as we're kind
Yeah,
of
it's an AI tool for processing lots of content. So if you're a
yeah
YouTuber or a podcaster, you can feed it your episodes and it will transcribe it, and then give it to an LLM with a prompt telling it to create summary and chapters and descriptions, and you could configure all that to kind of create different things, and then it outputs the final thing. So you should go back to your
yeah
Claude window to show what it generated for your video.
yeah, and like I know Melky streams all the time, and he does YouTube as well, so could be interesting for you, Melky, if you're interested. It's open source right now, and it's gonna stay open source. Uh,
Mhm.
Anthony's gonna productize it, but like the code for the CLI, it's still gonna stay open source. And if you wanna generate some of the things, you can just add like tokens to whichever LLM service you want to use, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely gonna start using it. He keeps showing me examples of like, hey, I took your YouTube video and I made this, so
Yeah.
it's pretty sweet. Hey, what's up, Botherin? Good to see you. Um,
Could
yeah,
you go to your browser and show the Claude output real quick?
yeah. Cool. Let's switch back here. Except gonna go Inception because I moved my OBS over. Yeah. So you want me to show the content there?
Yeah, what we got in Claude from the
Oh yeah. Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Sorry,
you need to
Claude.
go back to your web browser.
Yeah. Did I lose my browser? Yes, I did. Let me open up a new one. Life after Arc. All right, cool. All right, cool. So let's go to Claude. Here, let's just move it over and let's come. Is this it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, to summarize, so like if you use the CLI and Auto Show, you don't have to use a service to generate like the show notes and stuff. Um, that's all free because you can use it with like Olama locally and Whisper CPP. But if you want to get like the full like breakdown with like the chapters and stuff, you can run it through something like Anthropic, like the Claude Sonnet 3.5 or whatever. I didn't have tokens set up, and of course I just closed my thing again. Son of a bitch. I'm I'm so it's not too bad Edge, but
You're
it's
so
like
arc pilled, you need to relearn how to internet.
yeah, exactly. But um, but we went into Claude AI instead, and I pasted in the prompt he had, and that generated the show notes, and it's pretty cool. So like high level, when you run the CLI for Auto Show, it you can point it to like a YouTube video, and then from there you just it ends up pulling down the YouTube video, pulls out the audio in wave format, which is required by Whisper CPP, right?
Mhm.
and and then from there you just basically end up getting your transcript, and then if you want to go further like with the chapters and stuff, that's when you tap into the models. If you want to use like Claude, for example, we did it with Olama to begin with. Sorry, with Llama. I forget which model we used. What was the default one again?
It was that was Llama 3.2,
Okay,
3 billion parameters. So it's one of their new smaller models.
yeah
Yeah, and there are some. If you use some of the bigger open source models, you can still get pretty good outputs without using the services. But in
yeah
general, the best stuff you're gonna get is gonna be from like ChatGPT or Claude, most likely.
Yeah. And so like when we ran the auto show CLI, this is what it generated. So this is the prompt that I pasted in the Claude. But if you use it in the CLI, like you can just pass like say you want to use Claude, it'll do the same thing. But I just pasted it in Claude's chat just to show it in action. But you can see here it's got like the usual prompt engineering stuff. This is what it wants. This is the format, and then this is what the output should look like, and then you end up with a pretty solid thing that's like here.
Yeah, you should just
So I
read the first sentence description of the episode.
Yeah, so it says, here's my structured analysis of the transcript. So for context, I did a live stream with two engineers from GitHub talking about GitHub Copilot extensions. So the summary it gives here is a developer demonstrates building a GitHub Copilot extension that integrates with Star Search, which is open source AI offering, and it showcases how it provides repository insights through natural language queries across different development environments. So
So is that a
it's
good
pretty good at
description
summarizing stuff.
of the episode?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, anyways, it's a pretty cool project. Like I said, if you haven't heard of it yet, check it out. I'll drop it again. And also, if you want to give Anthony a follow, you can just find him in all these places on the web.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess that's a good place to wrap it up. But speaking of raids, I think we should raid somebody now. So let
Oh
me just
yeah.
go see who's on Twitch. Nobody I know, but let's see here. Um, Two nerdy nerds. Sure, why not? I don't know who that is, but slash raid two nerdy nerds. And also, thanks everybody hanging out in the chat today. Thanks again for the raid, Melky, and everybody that joined. And let's go do a raid. All right.
Bye
And thanks
everyone.
for the follow. Cool. All right. We'll just let this kick in here. All right. Okay, let's raid now. And yeah, thanks, Anthony. If you don't mind staying on for a second, everybody else, appreciate it. And let's go see two nerdy nerds. Cool. All right. I'm just going to go ahead.